Brilliant. Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kelly White. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the EYFS Leo Director, and I'm also one of the Vice Principals at Cheam Park Farm Primary, and I teach in one of the reception classes 3 days a week. So thank you so much for joining me today for this engaging EYFS provision. I hope this is a useful hour for you. We always all have loads to learn. I just thought it would be a really good opportunity to share perhaps my top tips that I've seen when I've been going around lots of different schools. Prior to taking on my vice principal role, I was one of the moderators for the London Borough of Sutton. So I had a great opportunity going into lots of schools across the borough and magpieing all of the different ideas, pitching all of those to add to my toolkit. So I thought it would be a great idea to share some of those and for us to sort of share ideas as well. And because we're quite a small group today, and I seem to be having a problem with my window, if I ask everyone to keep on mute, but if you do have a question or want to stop me at any point, please do just unmute yourself and give me a little shout and we can stop and look at them. Sometimes it's better to ask the questions there when we're on a particular point rather than waiting till at the end. But of course, we will do questions, etc. at the end. Okay, so thank you all so much for joining. I hope it's useful and I hope you've got a phone or a pad to hand. And as I said, we will share the slides with you after. Okay, so thank you all so much for your responses when you filled out the Google form about today's training. And I've just put on this slide, I think what most of you were looking for, lots of very similar ideas. So people looking for enhancing their knowledge and providing purposeful provision in their settings, new ideas and new resource ideas that they can take away, how to promote challenge within their provision, how to engage the learners, how to provide more engaging continuous provision and more practical examples that they can use in the setting. And I hope throughout this hour, I'll be able to cover most of those things. Okay, so the ideas behind early years and the reason why we teach from our early years curriculum. So I do believe that there's something very special about the early years curriculum, and there's so much to be taken away from the approach and how we deliver our curriculum to our children. The children are full of ideas and new ways and ideas to solve problems, and the early years practice that we provide gives them the space to explore these new avenues. We provide them with belief to explore their ideas and make new discoveries and links between the learning that they are making. In the early years, it's really important that we have a good balance between adult-led instruction on key activities such as phonics, reading, writing and maths, and large amount of time so the children can pursue their own interests, practice their learning, extend their learning and strengthen every one of their learning muscles. It gives them a chance to be creative, come up with completely new ideas and take their learning in an entirely new direction of their choice. In fact, their ideas can be so brilliant that they can solve a whole array of problems. It is important that practitioners do follow the children's interests and respond to their ideas for developing their play activities and provided structured activities as well. These will teach specific knowledge and skills. Children's choices and interests are the driving force for the building knowledge, skills and understanding, and by working and playing with children, other people, they're constantly learning about themselves and the social and cultural worlds around them. Children will build positive identities through collaborative and caring relationships with other people. And by managing and taking risks, having a go, experiencing successes, developing resilience and developing the mastery or can-do attitudes, they will become high-quality learners. So I think it's really important that we think about some of these questions and think about our own provision within our school. And I just want us to take a little bit of time thinking about this. So on a day-to-day basis, can you think about how much of the time within your setting is planned for your adults to do adult focus activities? Let's say in a typical setting, there are two of you, the teacher and the teaching assistant. Is it always the same person that's doing the focus activity with the children and the other one who's engaging the children in the continuous provision? Do you feel that in your provision there is enough time for the adults to play with the children and engage in their preferred area of learning? I wonder if anyone would like to just sort of take themselves off of mute and say, do they feel that actually within their setting they are giving the children enough time to explore their learning, or do you feel that actually, you know, that we are giving too much time for adult focused activities? And we can be honest, absolutely honest here. Does anybody want to unmute?
Hi, it's Danielle from Manor Park.
Thanks, Danielle.
Hello. I feel that we've got very good balance in early years where we are. There are sort of 1 or 2 focus activities that they do each day, but the rest of other than things like phonics that comes in every day and reading, we allow plenty of time for them to free flow throughout our continuous provision throughout the whole of our early year setting.
That's great.
I'd definitely say that we've got a good balance of that at Manor Park.
Excellent. That's really good to hear. That's really good to hear. Is there anybody, you don't even have to sort of say it, you can pop it on the chat or we can chat after. You know, if you are feeling that your school's not giving enough time for the children to have, you know, that adult sort of led experience where, you know, because they are having too many focus activities, I think it's really important for us to try to address this. And I know we can appreciate that some weeks are busier than others and there may be more focuses, etc., that we need to engage the children in. So some weeks are more challenging and are taking up more of the time, but it's so important that we do devote that time to their learning and their continued provision and their interests. Thank you, Danielle, for chipping in. Okay, so the next question really I want us to think about is, how is your provision set up? Are they able to self-select? Obviously, I know this question is very much sort of pre-COVID, you know, at the moment because of the enhanced cleaning and, you know, we are trying to put out fewer resources, etc., to avoid any further spread. But, you know, are they usually able to self-select? Is the classroom set up so that, you know, things are labelled, they can clearly see where things go? They have that set routine from September onwards. They understand where they can access things from, where they all go when it's tidy up time. Is the outside provision set up in this way as well, so that they can go and self-select things from outside, or is it all kept away in a shed? You know, I think it's really key, especially in the outside area, you know, that things are very open, but the children are taught from a very, very early stage that how they can access the provision, how we do this safely, how we manage this well, you know, and how we can successfully manage our learning environment, and what we do at the end of that activity. I think it's really, really important.
Kelly?
Yes, let me have a look. Yes, Maggie?
I just wondered, back in the day, we used to get the kids to sort of say what they wanted out the next day. Do you remember? We don't do that anymore because obviously things are in the shed and the kids aren't allowed in the shed for safety reasons. But it would be nice if the kids could like maybe go back to saying what they want outside rather than us putting it on the continuous all the time. What do you think?
Yeah, Maggie, I've actually popped that on. Yes, I've got that on one of my next questions actually. So I just jumped forward to that for Maggie. So it said, do the children give input into the planning? And I think that's a really key point that Maggie's made. You know, we used to make a lot of time actually asking them, and we do spend time where we look at what their interests are and using that. But, you know, are the children given the choice to say what they want out the next day? Perhaps those toys that are kept away in the shed for, you know, a particular reason, of sometimes it's the small world toys, etc. Are they given that choice to make those choices about what they want out the next day, rather than a different activity? So that's a really great point. Thank you, Maggie, for sharing that. Also, you know, it's about your staff as well. Do they know the best ways in which to interact with the children? Do they know how and when they should enter their play? I think CPD is so crucial for early years. Early years is a magical, special world. And I think you have to be a very special amazing practitioner to be in the early years world. You have to have a lot of patience. You have to know your children particularly well. You have to know when is the right point when you can enter their play. You know, I'm sure we've all had an opportunity, all seen when children have been playing, we thought it's the right time to just engage. We just sort of intervene in their play, and then the children, it wasn't the right time for them. They shy off and they move away. And there's, you know, sadly, then their play has been, you know, completely spoiled. Had we just waited that slight bit longer, or joined in a slightly different way, they might have accepted us into their play. So it's really about knowing your children, and when is a good time to join their play. I think another really important question to consider is thinking about our themes, topics, the interest. Do these change regularly, or do you just pull up the planning from the previous year and the same themes are used year on year? I'm just thinking TV characters, etc. Those sorts of interestings, they change very regularly. You know, is this evident in your provision with the writing resources or the puzzles that you may have or the small world toys? So I think just keeping up to date with, you know, the current trends and themes for 3, 4 and 5-year-olds, and what interests them. That's a really important thing to think about now. Okay, so what I thought would be quite fun. Normally, I'm a real early years heart person, and everything would be very practical, and we would all be in a hall or a classroom, and we would all be getting our hands there and joining in. And unfortunately, we're doing this on a screen in very unprecedented times. But I've taken a few photographs, and you can see here we've just got some dinosaurs on some AstroTurf, and I want us to have a little think about what could we do here to enhance this activity. Okay, so I'm just going to give everybody a minute or so to have a little think about what could we add to this activity. And then if you are happy to, brave enough, we can unmute, or you can pop it in the chat. What else do you think we could add here to enhance this activity, just off the top of your head? Just give everybody a minute or so. At the moment, it looks very, very boring, and I don't think I'd want to engage in that activity. See that man in the courtroom? Yes. Another short time, and then if anyone's feeling brave, we can share some ideas. And it'd be great to see if we all can take some new ideas away.
Right. Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, we can. Thank you, Maggie. You feeling brave?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit brave. Right. I would probably add maybe some natural objects, like maybe some trees or some grass, or maybe some tunnels or some caves that dinosaurs could hide in, and maybe a book or something.
Brilliant. Thank you, Maggie. So natural resources there to make some caves, etc. A book, would the book be?
Oh, it'd be a dinosaur book, or
thank you, like a themed book. Amazing. I'm just going to have a look in the chat. Yeah, thank you, Emma. So some natural resources, rock, sand, brilliant. Some sensory made natural materials, leaves, plants, books, absolutely. Storybook, themed book, rocks, great, absolutely. That's amazing. Great ideas, guys. Oh, paper and pens for writing opportunity. Thank you very much, Kate. Amazing. Right, okay, I'm going to pop onto my next slide. So hopefully I jazzed it up a little bit. Obviously, this is not everything you would always put. I've just put a selection here. So great. Lots of you said natural objects. So I know as early years practitioners, we are always on the scrounge. You've always got a bag in your pocket, I'm sure, to pick up things when you've been out on a walk or in a charity shop or anything like that, or anybody's throwing anything away. So natural objects. We've got like some pine cones there. I think there's cinnamon sticks, dried oranges. We've got some wooden blocks there, you know, like Jenga blocks, but any sort of blocks or loose part materials there to build, like Maggie was saying, like caves or towers sort of structures. We've got the linked story. Lots of you said that, which was great. So I've just put Harry and the Dinosaur, Harry and the Robots book there, sorry. Got some magnifying glasses. So some understanding the world resources there. We've got some magnifying glasses and mirrors just to explore them as well. So excellent. Lots of great add-ons there for that activity. Well done. Okay, let me have a look. Let's have a look at my next one. Okay, this looks really boring. Really, really boring. So this is clearly for positional language. So you can see we've got a couple of teddies, compare bears with, it looks like 2 little wooden tables. And then the cards there, which are obviously supporting some sort of positional language as well. What else do you think we could add to this activity? I'll give everybody a minute or so. You can either pop it in the chat or when I say we can share the ideas.
Enjoys watching gay men? That's not true. He enjoys watching them and fantasizing about them. He's not one of them.
Oh, whoever's not on mute, can you just thank you? Mute your thank you.
Like you said, Mrs. Stuber, you taught your son well.
Right, if you want to pop anything in the chat, I'll switch over to have a look, see if anyone can pop any there. Let's have a look. Oh, so we've got some plants. Excellent. Oh, little, oh no, sorry, that was the previous one, plants and little water trays. Lovely, that was great. Let's have a look. So, colour visuals, different teddies. Children can move them around the classroom, take photos. Actual objects have a bear and a chair. Lovely. Small world characters, different settings to locate the characters. Lovely. Maggie, you're unmuted. Did you want to share anything?
No. No.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to pop you on mute, Maggie. No worries, so we don't get an echo. So we've got make a teddy, take it around the classroom. Lovely. You can use a classroom tablet and a puppet. Excellent. Great. So I was thinking about obviously this just being on the table, the continuous provision. So there could be various things added here. Small world doll's house, table and chairs. Excellent. So let's have a look how we added to this. So one of my absolute favorite resources that we have in early years are, sorry, my pictures just cut the top off of that. We will have a look at one of these later on, are our talking pegs, which are a peg that clip on to the top of paper or card. And you can record your voice on there. And it's a great resource, especially for the younger ones when they're unsure perhaps what the activity might mean. You can see here I've used it with what is our challenge star. So our challenge star here was describe to a friend where you've hidden the teddy. So trying to make the activity purposeful and a reason. There might not be another child at the activity for them to engage with. So we've got the phone there, obviously, you know, an amazing old school phone. They love a phone, a mobile phone. You always find them in the home corner, I think, where they've got lots of them stashed. So always save old phones. But yeah, challenge stars there to add the challenge on with the added bonus of the talking peg. So the talking peg, you record your voice on there so you can tell them exactly what the challenge is that you're looking for. We've got some word cards there added, just to give them the words with the visual picture as well. The phone obviously to talk onto, and some fabric. I absolutely love fabric. You know, just breaks up the two different activities that might be on a table, and just, you know, can make it look a little bit more exciting, and lots of great input there from everybody. Thank you about different ways that we could move forward a positional language activity. Well done. Right, another amazingly boring activity here at the writing table. This is actually an activity from the writing table. You can see we've got just some strips of paper, a pot of felt tips, and it's some superheroes there. I think it's linked to the superhero topic. So what do you think we might be able to do here to develop this activity? I'll give everybody a minute or so. I'm just going to swap over to the other screen, see if we've got anything in the chat in a moment. Pop anything in the chat if you'd like to, or you can unmute.
Kelly, so me again.
Thank you, Maggie.
I would add some of our superhero words, maybe like pow, bam, wow. You know the words we use? So they could maybe use them in their writing.
Brilliant. Great idea. Thank you, Maggie. We've got some keywords there for language. Excellent. That was Danielle, exactly the same. Well done. We've got superhero props there. Well done. Comics and books for inspiration. That's another great idea. Superhero word hunts and books. Lots of great ideas coming through there, guys. Well done. All dressing up costumes. That's always a great one. They often wander off, don't they, with the dressing up costumes when it's been put with an activity, but always very exciting to engage them in the activity initially. Well done. Right. Let's have a look. Did I manage to make it a little bit more exciting? So some of the ideas you guys mentioned, I've put there obviously selection of different types of pencils and rulers, and different paper and different paper sizes. I think it's really important that, you know, when we are putting paper out for writing activities or, you know, maths, etc., that we don't just give a standard piece of paper and it all to look the same. You know, it's really important to think about perhaps it's some with lines, some with outlines, different types of colours, different shapes. You know, if it's not lined, having the rulers there to draw the lines on. You know, they're at school, but they love feeling like they're playing schools, always within their provision. So those sorts of things are amazing. Different types of pens, you know, everybody, everyone loves a fluffy pen or, you know, a clicky pen. If they think they're using the adult biro, you know, they are like, oh my gosh, can I use your pen, Mrs. White? You know, it's so exciting. So even just putting out some of your biros that you have, you know, make it a little bit more exciting. You know, if it's superheroes, if you are able to, you know, pick up any superhero pencils in the pound shop or anything like that, you know, it just makes it a little bit more exciting and a little bit different. And we've got the word cards, like we said there, and we can see there we've got the phoning buttons on them to support them with their reading, and we've got the spaceman there just to remind them about they're using their space fingers, and an alphabet mat. So, you know, going from, you know, it looking very dull with not much sort of enhancement or engagement, really many opportunities there, to hopefully children would want to access this activity, and there's quite a few different ways in which they could. So well done, lots of great ideas there, guys. I just want to spend a little bit of time now. I've just taken, these are actually quite old photographs of provision that I've seen over the last sort of, you know, couple of years. And I just want to have a little look at some of these pictures, really, and have a little conversation about, you know, how the activities are set up, why we think perhaps the children might want to access them. You know, if you feel there's anything good you can take away. I think one of the key points I'd like to sort of talk about here is trying to make the activities, you know, where possible, open-ended. So not always giving them, you know, an end result. I think one of the prime examples is often creative activities. So we often see a snowman or, you know, a piece of artwork, and, you know, we want you to create this snowy scene and it to look exactly like this. You're going to paint the snow at the bottom. You're then going to print a snowman here. You're then going to add, and, you know, it's very, very directed. So, you know, on this activity, we can just see here that's got the yellow mat with the wedge there. You know, there's just some examples of different types of snowy scene, and that's the stimulus there for them to look at. Then there's a variety of different printing tools for them to create their snowy picture. We've then got, you know, glitter there, so there's different types of things that they can add to it. So it's very open-ended. You know, there's lots of different ways in which they can access this activity. The papers are different size. There's slightly smaller black paper and larger black paper. The paint itself is actually there for them to take on their learning and pop it into the tray. So taking on that independence as well at the activity. So I think that's a really good one to look at as a starting point. The picture next to the creative activity is a writing activity, a writing table. And you can see here there's lots of different resources that have been provided. So I think, like a moment ago, we just spoke about the different paper sizes and different sort of template pieces of paper that we might use. And I know we all will use some wonderful templates from Twinkle, etc., where they've got, you know, a border or pictures already inserted, but it's really important to think about those children who will see that piece of paper and that writing, those lines will be too many for them. You know, so actually having no lines for them is a better option. Actually, they don't want to just write on one piece of paper, they want to make a little book. So do your children have access to hole punchers and treasury tags or small staplers? Once again, the pound shop is my favorite place, you know, to purchase these types of resources, and teaching the children from a very early start, you know, how to use the hole puncher, then how we join them together using the treasury tags. I'm sure all of you have got these types of resources in your provision where the children can access them at any time, and just making sure that those resources are topped up, and that they know where they are, and knowing that if they do run out, that they can come and ask for more, and that your staff are checking that these things are there. You can see on this we've got puzzle pieces there. They're different story puzzle pieces. So just as a stimulus, I think the idea was perhaps to write a story. So there's different stimulus there to support them with that, with their writing as well. Then I think moving on to the maths table, we quite often, this is actually from my classroom, we tried to put out various provision on the table, and our table sort of normally would sit, you know, 8 chairs, and we normally do smaller 2 activities on each side, and trying, I think it's really important not to have an overload of paper, trying to keep it practical where possible. So I think you can see here it's very clearly addition on this table. So we've got various ways there. We've got, you know, the laminated cards with the number fans there to support them if they're unsure about writing the answer. You've also then got paper copies you can see in the basket behind. So actually, if they don't want to do the laminated version, but they do want to take it home, they have got the option to do it on a recorded version. We've got the addition there, you know, using cups and things. Cups are amazing. You know, we quite often do words on our cups, numbers on our cups. You know, they're great for positional language as well. It's just trying to make, I think, or have that great bank of ideas, how you can support the children's learning in lots of different ways, and keep them interested in that. I think we can see here we've got another addition activity, and the addition is already on there, so they had to collect the right amount of cubes to complete the answer. So, you know, 4 add 2, they collect the 4 and then the 2, and then they were counting them all together. You know, the challenge, you know, might be there. They might have had a notepad, you know, to try and record their answer. You may have tweezers added to that activity to develop their fine motor whilst they're trying to pick up the cubes, which was quite tricky. One of our best purchases last year, you can see the back of it, was one of those creator trees. I think they're sort of Hobbycraft, or I think they even did them in Asda last year, but sort of, you know, just changing the height of the table as well. Just, you know, it's a bit more interesting. You know, it just sort of catches their eye as well, making, you know, it slightly different than, you know, normal everyday provision. You can see down here, you know, that's just a typical activity, you know, fine motor funky fingers activity with the frozen peas and putting them into the counting trays. But that alone, even if they're not able, you know, to get the right amount into the counting trays, just picking up the peas with the different size tweezers again. So you've got slightly smaller tweezers and bigger tweezers, and the book there to support the story of the week. And then moving over to the literacy activity, you know, using, we mentioned earlier, sort of natural resources. So we've got, you know, it's Sweet Potato Week. We've got potatoes there with keywords in. You know, so making it slightly different. The children find these things really funny, and, oh, you know, can you pick up another potato? What word might be on that one? You know, and it just makes it a little bit different for them, you know. And then you've got the added option of recording it there. So we've got the chalkboard flowers. Those were actually a purchase from Wilkinson's many years ago. I think they're for you in your garden when you do your growing. But, you know, it's just another way of recording. And we bought those sort of wooden boards last year, rather than just a standard whiteboard or paper, just making it, you know, exciting and something new and quite obviously durable, and, you know, those can be used outside. The tough spot on the left there, you can clearly see, is a very Easter themed, you know, tough spot. So we've got different things there. There's, you know, some role play. We've got some bunny ears, eggs, obviously for matching, for size sorting, for hunting. You know, there's lots of opportunities in that tough tray alone for the children to explore. Finger puppets, you know, and then, you know, the possibility that they use the resources that they've seen there to go and make their own version at the creative table. I just wonder, before I move on to the next slide, does anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to ask about the activities we've just seen on the previous slide? If you don't want to unmute, you can pop it in the chat. If not, I can move on. Great. Right. So here, another selection of different types of activities. And I think, like we were saying earlier, it's really about thinking, ensuring that you're trying to keep activities open-ended where possible. So using the children to take their learning on the path of their interest. So we can see with the creative activities, we have the template there that the children might wish to use to create a Mr. Potato Face. But then we actually have parts of the Mr. Potato Face, so they might try to copy and almost like a planned activity there, make their potato face and then copy it onto their cutting and sticking activity. Or they might choose to draw the one that they have made. You can see on the other side of the table is about using different resources for them to explore. So having the potato mashed up, that's a key thing in the story of Sue Potato. So just exploring the different ways of printing, do we get set in a rut of, putting out the same types of resources? Are we just putting out the paintbrushes and the rollers quite often? What else can we use for the children to explore and make their own pictures and patterns? And this is when we get the best learning, when they're given the freedom to explore it in their own way. The tough spots are absolutely amazing, and I'm sure every single setting has got at least one tough spot that they use. Normally, I think because of size, people do tend to use their tough spots outside, but you can see it's quite open-ended here. We've got the guttering, which is obviously taken from the larger loose parts play outside, but using that with the stands, obviously for the cars to go down. So, lots of experiences there that the children might engage in. We've got the number cards there to support it. So it could be they choose a number card, that many cards to go down. They might choose it for a friend. So, trying to engage their friends in there. And, I think as well, it's really important to think about noticing what provision the children really enjoy, and how often you put that out, or how you might adapt that throughout the week. It might be that at the start of the week, you put the activity, let's say this tough spot activity with the gutters and the cars. You might put that at the beginning of the week without the number cards. So you're there to support the children, how to use the cars, how we could, make the cars go faster down the drain, down the guttering, etc., and support them in their play. It might be that after a day or so you add the number cards, so it's almost like a challenge element. How can we use these number cards now? Could we choose 2 numbers? And ensuring that you're there to support them if you're trying to engage that challenge within the provision. And I think, as I said earlier, the sound pegs are a great way to support this, especially I think in the outside when it can be slightly busier, obviously often slightly noisier. So they do have the sound button so that they can go and just click on that, find out what the challenge might be and what the expectation might be, if they wish to explore it in that way. But you can see in just looking at this activity, there's so many different things that they could do with that. There might be that you add notepads or paper or whiteboards, or pop the wedge there with the whiteboard pens. They could be recording with tallies, how many cars children can make go down the guttering. You could have a timer there. How many can they do in 1 minute? So many different things that they could explore in that activity. We can just see here, I'm sure you've all had a class, thinking back over the years, if you've been in early years for more than 1 year, knowing that actually they've been a really creative class and they've wanted just to pull out your creative trolley every single day. So just having the different types of materials, and like I said, picking up those ends of this and ends of that, wool, bubble wrap, little packaging bits you get when you get a delivery from Amazon. I always think Joe Malone's one of my favorite. The stuffing that comes inside that, you know, the sort of shredded sort of paper, those sorts of things are really great for that. And they always love finding new resources in the trolley and putting it out, you know, cutting up of old birthday cards, etc. That's always a fantastic one, and just leaving it very open-ended to see what they make. But I think giving the children the time to sit there at the making table and they see you exploring this activity, and as you will always find that as soon as you sit at a table, the children will flock to you. They want to join you. They want to play with you. They want to please you and join in. So having that time to sit down and join in with them, you know, is really, really key to their provision and their engagement. Earlier on, like I said, you know, down at the bottom here, we've got the writing table again. You know, you can clearly see it was a frozen week. So having some sort of role play resources there to support their learning, different types of paper once again. We've got the keyword matching there with the cups. And I'm not sure if you can see it. I've got them to show you at the end. I am like a magpie, and I'm sure many of you are. At the back in the basket there, they were little wooden stumps from a wedding that we were holding the table cards in, and I collected them all. Luckily, it was my sister's wedding, but I collected them at the end of the evening, and we wrote sounds on them all, so we use them for word building now. So I suppose it's just all, you know, your brain never switches off, I think, unfortunately, as an early years teacher, or, you know, a teacher, in fact. As an early years practitioner, sorry, but thinking about, you know, how could we use these, and what other way could we use this resource to engage our children? And they love anything new. They absolutely do. Once again, you know, some more ideas here on the maths table. We've got cups here for counting in fives, I believe, and then bundles of 5 straws, and then the paper there, different size paper if they want to have a go at writing in fives. So, you know, just making it, you know, different, but, you know, various ways to complete that activity. And then outside we can see there we had in one of the sort of, we've got a covered hut area, having just a small world provision out there. And I think it was a town week, and lots of books there to support it with some, you know, keyword or key vocabulary. But like I said just a moment ago, having that adult there to start the play off is, you know, is crucial. We were very lucky some years ago that we had an adult who was employed as a play worker. And she used to come in every morning, and she was our designated play worker for outside. And that year we felt our children's play skills were absolutely amazing, and their engagement in the activities was fantastic, because she was ensuring that she was going between all of the activities, you know, trying to engage as many children as possible. But it really does benefit the children massively if you are there to support your children in their play. So I've got some ideas to share here, which I think are sort of my top toolkits. And I think these are sort of my must-haves, really. So I'll just sort of read through the list, and then I'm going to switch over to the other screen so I can sort of show you some of the things. Actually, I'm going to switch over now. Sorry about that, wrong button. So I'll have a look for myself. Obviously, magnifying glasses, we all know what those are, but thinking about, you know, different sizes, adding them to anything, you know, reading, small world, the maths, it just makes it more exciting to have a magnifying glass, you know. And, you know, I just think, oh, you know, I've got, you know, big ones, some smaller ones, you know, even like, you know, the old sort of visualizers, anything that just makes it a little bit more interesting. Tweezers are an absolute must-have, and you saw on the pictures I had a few different sizes there. Asda's great. They quite often have them quite cheap, different sizes. Notepads, we all love a notepad. I love a notepad, and I'm 38, but, you know, getting, you know, just sort of little basic notepads from the pound shop, or if, you know, a little bit more of a spend on sort of superhero notepads, but even just having the notepads that you would have in the stationery cupboard in school, or exercise books, popping those out with, you know, your keywords, or last year's academic diaries. We had a little bit of a few extra from last year, so we have those in our classroom. Just popping those out with it. They think they're being the teacher. They just want to start writing, and it's great. You know, you can then either take a photo of their work that they've done in there, if you still have learning journey folders, or they might want to take it home, so perhaps a photocopy, or, you know, rip it out of the notepad. Notepads are an absolute must. Glasses. I'm not talking about glasses that you might be wearing right now, but I've got a fabulous pair here, superhero. They're probably McDonald's freebies. McDonald's freebies are always great for these sorts of things, but Primark, they used to do the clear lens glasses. I think the children must eat the glasses, because you have about 8 pairs at the start of the week, and they disappear. Whether they hide them for later on, I'm not sure, but they put them on and they've got a clipboard in their hand and they're off, you know, and they're off doing their numbers, or they're writing lists, or they're mark making, they're drawing shapes. I think they just feel, you know, I think I would, you know, you just feel a little bit more important with a pair of glasses on. So, you know, glasses are a great buy if you can find clear lens glasses, or, you know, glasses with no lens, or anything like this, or masks. In fact, you know, they're great as well. So the sound pegs, some of you may have seen them. I mentioned them earlier. They're from TTS. They normally come, I think, in about a pack of 5. They are quite expensive, but they are great. You literally click the record button, you hold the button down. Hello, my name is Kelly. You hold the button down. Hello, my name is Kelly. Oh, sorry about that. You often find that throughout the day they have pushed the button and re-recorded over whatever was your challenge or your instructions. So just keep checking. But I think these are a must-have in every setting. They really are really useful. You know, especially for having outside, especially for those younger children, especially for your EAL children, where you can get that really basic language in. I know it's always a really big thing thinking about challenge, the element of challenge, and how we promote that within the settings. And I don't feel like I know every answer. And I think, you know, we are always all still learning. But one thing that we try to do is have sort of a challenge star. So these are the little clear things. I'm sure you've all seen them. These are an IKEA sort of buy, and we just have a challenge star. And we often put a challenge star on one of the writing tables, one of the maths tables, and it might be, you know, something else. It might be in a physical activity outside. And in the morning, normally when we're talking through some of the provision that might have changed, we explain what the challenge might be. It might be that your challenge is recorded on your sound peg so that they can go and access that themselves. So it's just thinking about how you can move the children on in particular areas of the learning, and how you're supporting those learners to take their learning further, what else they can do, how else can they explore this activity further. Clipboards, I said, clipboards are great. Sometimes we cover the clipboards, you know, to make it a bit more exciting. But to be honest, they just want a teacher clipboard. So, you know, any colour, any size. The small ones are really good as well, because sometimes they film the big ones slightly more difficult to hold when they're moving around trying to write as well. So the slightly smaller A5 ones are great as well. Splatters. You can use them for absolutely everything. So the splatters, you know, you might have a keyword splat game, sound splat on the table, number splat, doing a whole class splat activity, you know, splatting which teddy's on top. They are just fly swats from the pound shop. They don't last very long, but they're great. And the children just love it. They find it so exciting. And obviously we model that from very early on, you know, as whole class, how we splat sensibly, and, you know, how we play with these nicely. We don't splat each other, etc. But they absolutely love it. And then it's great to see when you've just got them in your continued provision, you on your maths area or your literacy provision, you see them go and self-select them. They grab some number cards and they're playing number splat. They've set up their own game. It's amazing to see. So Splatters, are absolutely fantastic for so many different types of activities. We spoke about natural resources earlier. So, like typical, I'm sure we've all got a basket of conkers or pine cones. These are like dried oranges or, whatever they are. And these are another thing I stole from my sister's wedding, that were on the tables. But, it's just quite interesting and great for that language development, and putting it out, it could just be natural resources that you've put out. It could be added to, like we did earlier with the small world activities, just something different and something to explore and, to promote their language development and something they might have not seen before. I hadn't actually seen it until I found it on the pavement outside my house from a tree. I couldn't even tell you what it is now, but, it looks quite interesting. So just things that are different and unusual to them are great. Obviously, the loose parts, and I know loose parts sort of play was promoted quite a lot last year. And I think most of the schools in the trust have really sort of taken that on board now. And it's amazing to see how well the children use this within their provision. So, just a, example, we've got, most of us, I think we've got in goldfish bowls or, baskets. So, corks are a great one because you get to drink the wine before and then save the corks. Having, sort of curtain hooks, little things like that, pegs. And, I think, as we said, always magpieing those things as well, collecting the picture frames to do the activity on. You might have it out for a creative activity. So, it might be mirrors and loose parts. So they're doing, creating a loose parts face. It might be that you have out numbers and the loose parts objects at the number table. So they're trying to create how many, or they might be creating the number 5, or they might be, have letter templates and they're forming the loose parts over the letters, so versatile, so many different ways. These were the logs, I mentioned earlier. So, great. You can just, use your Sharpie and draw over anything. The same with conkers. Tipex on your conkers for numbers or sounds or keywords are great as well. Baskets and boxes, they hide everything. So it's worth hiding it before, because they're going to look in the box anyway. So, little boxes you get from Christmas or deliveries, like I said. Small ones are great because you can fit a few on a table. It might be that you have sound objects inside, keywords hiding inside. You might just leave the objects out with, the boxes and baskets out with some compare bears, and then they put them in different places, supporting their positional language, etc. But like we said, they hide everything. So hide it before and see, see how much they explore with your hidden gems. Phones, I said earlier, I think it's quite hard to come by old house phones now. They often don't see a house phone, or it's ones that looks like it's in a mobile, in a sort of, the handset. They don't see normally the one attached to the wire, or, the really old school ones where they push the dial around. So those sorts of things are great for the children to explore, just having them out on the maths table, having them on the literacy table just to support if they're retelling stories and things, having them, with a small world activity. They're amazing. Fabrics, I absolutely love fabrics. And obviously I know, with COVID at the moment, people are not often putting fabrics out because of the washing, etc. But different coloured fabrics, different texture fabrics, you often can get from the hardware stores, sort of themed related ones. So sort of wipeable cloths that might have letters on, or numbers, or sort of farm animals to go with your farm tough spots, and things like that. They are great as well. I'm just having a look over my my sort of toolkit idea. I think for me, that's sort of my sort of must-have toolkit. I'm sure, and I really would love to hear any ideas that anybody else has that we can add to this sort of toolkit bank of ideas. I don't know if anybody wants to put anything in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute, things that you found within your setting that the children absolutely love, which I think, like these types of things, are add-ons, or supporting activity that can be versatile and moved around. Has anybody got any other wonderful ideas? I love ideas, and I love to magpie. So I think I can see some of you typing away, which is great. Anybody want to unmute? No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But like I say, I think I've been extremely lucky being able to go into lots of schools to find, and magpie the best ideas. So, anything that you can take from that is absolutely amazing. Yes, Danielle, definitely. And I think that's, really important. Danielle just said about like writing toolkits, lots of different writing materials. And I think that's is really key about how you set up your environment. So when you've got your sort of writing station or writing area set up, have you got it so they've got the pads, the pencils, the rulers, the hole punchers, the treasury tags, the post-it notes, the sellotape? Is it always there for them to access rather than when you only put it out on a table? I'm sure we've all found we set up our provision, we think this looks really good, the children are going to love this, and they literally want to wipe it away, and over they go, they take everything out that's not been perhaps put out that day, and the learning you get from that is absolutely amazing. We have sort of taken on the approach of sort of free choosing Fridays, and we quite often don't put anything out. And that, I think, is often when you get the best learning. Over they go. And Emma's just said about sort of, your investigation kit. And I think it's thinking about all of the areas of learning. So we've said about having sort of the writing area. Have you got your maths area where you've got things always accessible? Your compare bears, your number lines, number cards, your balances, different types of objects, your shapes, 2D and 3D, etc. Have you got like an understanding the world area where they can access all of those natural objects, torches, shells, blindfolds, binoculars, feely bags? Once again, they want to fill up bags. The same with your creative area. Have you got those different resources in there? Can they access the glue spatulas when they need it, or do they need to ask you for some glue? Do they know they can go and get some of the paint to a certain degree and fill it up in the paint pots? Do they know where to get the different size paintbrushes from, or the different printing tools? I think that's really, really important. I'm just going to, so really sort of the last sort of point I want to sort of share was thinking about knowledge that you can gain. So I think the key thing for me, which I have stressed over and over again, that I have been extremely lucky in my position, and I've been able to go into so many other schools and, like I say, magpie all of these ideas and just fill up my own toolkit. So visiting other settings is so important when we come out of these strange times. I think it's really important, if you can, especially if you're new to early years or new an NQT or RQT, it's really important that you do get to visit other schools, and not just perhaps schools within the trust. There might be other schools that you know of that have excellent provision. And what I would ask, if you find a school that has shown you some amazing provision, please share that with us. We'd love to see photos or even a virtual tour, so that we can all share those wonderful ideas. Network meetings, I know those are often for the teachers, but TAs are invited to come to those. So it might be that it's a Leo network meeting, it might be a borough moderation meeting, but going there you do get to share lots of ideas. So that's a great tool as well to use. Obviously, the schools now are all using Seesaw as one of the digital learning platforms. So on their community and in the, on the community platform, there are lots of great ideas. So having a little flick through the different ideas that people might have sort of put on there, you might want to adapt them, but there might be some great ideas that you can sort of take on and adapt and give it your own spin as well. And even just the photos that you might see within their activity, say, oh, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that. Facebook and sort of social media groups and publications to read are great. I'm on Facebook, and I do like to look on, I think it's the Twinkle Facebook group, and people often put a post on there looking for ideas or sharing great practice that they have, and that's another great place to sort of find something and take it on board. And like I say, sharing it with the team is great as well. Sharing is definitely caring. And I think that's what's really important. You know, as a trust, we really want to make everyone's provision absolutely amazing, and we want to, you know, all be outstanding within our provision. So if you find something works really well for you and at your school, please do let the other EYFS leads know and ask them to share that, so that we can sort of all try it out in our own settings. It might be that actually some things work better for some children and some children aren't as interested, but it's great for us to share all of those ideas. And obviously Twitter is another great use. I'm sure there's staff within your school who are actively using Twitter, promoting your setting, sharing photos of what you've been doing, the learning, how they've been learning, why they've been doing it. So it's great to look at the other schools. I do often go on, obviously as part of my role, I do retweet the tweets from the other schools that are put on for the early years settings. So I love going on, and you know, a few weeks ago, a great tweet I saw from another school, and I was like, oh, we're going to add that to our planning next week. So, you know, going on and having a look at the photos that have been seen is really beneficial, even if you just sort of spend an hour, you know, every few weeks having a look through, looking on the Leo EYFS Twitter feed is a great use as well. So I think I sort of just want to end with thanking you all so much for coming this evening. I hope it's been of some use, and I hope you've got some ideas perhaps to take away. I hope I've touched on everything that people put in their expectations for the training this evening. If there's something that you feel we haven't touched on as much, I think the biggest one for me is about challenge. And I think as practitioners, we are always looking at how we challenge the children. But I think, you know, sort of touching on the different ways in which we can challenge them. I think you sort of almost have to look at each area and sort of, you know, the different elements of maths, shape, space and measure, and the different types of activities and how you're going to move those children on. But looking at, you know, the talking pegs and the challenge boards are sort of how you can use that to promote the challenge within your setting. I wonder if anybody else had any other sort of burning questions they wanted to ask or anything they wanted to add. You can either unmute yourself now or pop it in the chat. But I'd just like to say thank you everybody for coming, and I hope it's been useful. And please, if you do have any more ideas, I love building up my idea bank. As I say, I've been doing this for 15 years, and you know, every day I think I find something new by looking on Twitter or you know, from visiting another school or chatting to colleagues. So thank you so much for the amazing provision that you'll provide at your schools, and let's hope that we can continue to move forward. So thank you very much. Thank you for your lovely comments, and hope to see you perhaps all in person at some point this year.
So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Anybody wants to ask anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's nice to see all the faces now. I couldn't see all the faces earlier. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks very much, Kelly.
Sorry, I turned my camera off because